Hey there, everyone, and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards, and I'm an independent Stamping Up demonstrator in southern Tasmania. Just bear with me, that's slightly crooked, and I hate it slightly crooked. There we go, that's better. Yes, so welcome to my craft room. This is the video for my April Fun Fold class. Quite proud of this one actually. It's got a lot of variety and a couple of different folds there, which hopefully you will enjoy popping together if you've purchased the class. Got a wee sneeze this morning, so if I have to move away to sneeze, please forgive me. Anyway, so let's get started with these cards. You should have your 3 kits there. You'll obviously have envelopes. I haven't given myself envelopes. As usual, be careful when you open the little cellophane bag because there are small things like embellishments and little pieces of ribbon and things that may drop out. So don't let them drop, or you might lose them in the mess that's your craft room if it's anything like mine. Okay, so there's our 3 kits. There's our 3 cards, so that's what we're aiming to get to in the next 40 to 45 minutes. So let's get started. We might start with this little tulip number first, just this little guy here. So this is this kit here, this lovely flowering tulips bundle designer series paper is just wonderful. And the good news is that it's part of the mini catalogue, so it will go through till the end of June, so we can still enjoy that one over the next couple of months. So lovely colours of black and what's the word? Petal Parade. So lovely contrast there with the white for the sentiment. Okay, so let's get started. Not much to this one. It's a fairly simple design. Only thing you probably have to do apart from put it together is cut a piece of cardstock here and sort of put a little banner on the end of the sentiment. I haven't done that, and the reason being is that I didn't know, obviously, depending on what sentiment you're using, you may want your banner, you might want a shorter sentiment or a longer sentiment. So I've left them as long as I could with the paper that I had, so that you can sort of basically stamp as you like and then banner accordingly. Okay, so you've got 4 little matte black dots there, so there, be careful of those, plus various other panels of designer series paper and cardstock. Okay, so you've got a panel for the inside. We might get rid of that first. I have a tendency to let things drop if I don't get sort of glue them down first. I might find myself coming in and, I don't know, stamping on it or something silly. So this is a landscape card. So we might, that's going to go sort of long ways rather than up and down. And we'll pop that in there. Oh, now that I've gone live, my nose has decided to run. Just bear with me. I'm going to put the sound off for a second and blow my nose. Okay, sorry about that. I might try and edit that out a bit later on, but anyway, that should be the last of it, hopefully, for the next little while. So anyway, we've got our central panel in there. So the next step you're going to have to do is grab this piece of designer series paper that's been embossed with all the dots. So that's part of the checkers and dots designer embossing folder. So it's one of them that's actually designed for the mini cut and emboss machine, which means it's only a maximum of 3.5 inches wide. But I really loved the dots on that one to go with the dots on that piece of designer series paper. So that's basically why I've stuck to that. But since it's actually a wee bit narrow for our card, we're going to have to cut that in 2 pieces, and that's not going to matter too much because, as you see from the original card, the gap is going to be behind this length of black cardstock anyway, so we're not going to really notice it. So we want probably to cut it, as I say, it's about 3 3/8 wide. So if you cut an inch, say an inch would be fine. Cut an inch off one edge. So you end up with a 2 3/8 and an inch long. Probably could have done that for you, but you know, when you're making, how many did I make of this one? 30 plus kits. Yeah, time it got away from me. So what we want to do is pop the largest of the two pieces on the top part of the card. So we'll just glue that on. You're going to have a largish border around the edge. So just make sure you have the border the same at the top and the two sides. And that you'll know then that you've got it in the right position. Just like that. And then with our 1-inch strip, same sort of thing, but it's going to go along the bottom. And you'll probably have, what would it be? Probably a 3/4 inch gap in the middle, which, as I said, is fine because we're going to cover that with black cardstock and designer series paper. So the one thing to watch out for here, I suppose, is to make sure that the top piece lines up pretty much with the bottom piece, so you don't ruin that optical illusion that it's a full piece behind. So that's what we've got there. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll cover that one over. So we've got a piece of black cardstock here. That's 1 7/8 inch wide, and it's the width, the length of the card, so it's 5.5 long. And then you've got a piece of designer series paper, which is going to sit on there. And looking at that, I have actually left that too long. I wonder whether I've done that with all the kits. That piece of polka dot, and I'm going to check the kits that I haven't set out yet, that should be 5 1/4. And I've left it at 5.5. So if your polka dot piece is 5.5 long, you might have to trim it down to 5 1/4 because I want it to line up with the spotty paper, not with the edge of the card. So with this one, you're going to have quite a small, my normal sort of 1/8 of an inch gap top and bottom, and you're going to have a wider gap either side. So that's exactly how it's meant to be. So we're going to pop that one on there. So again, smaller gap at the top and bottom, and then the same larger gap either side. So again, the edges, the extreme edges, right and left edge of this piece of cardstock will line up pretty much exactly with the edges of your embossed Poppy Parade. Okay, so that one's going to sit just straight on the top, and as you see, that one is covering over our little gap, so it's like it never happened, just like that. Again, pop some glue on the back and pop that straight onto the card. So you're covering over your gap, probably leave 1/2 inch along the bottom of colour showing through, and there we are. It's quite good with the dots, you can line it up and make sure you're straight. There we are. So that's the start of that. Okay, no ribbons or anything to worry about with this one, so I'm safe to plough on. We have our beautiful tulips here. So the black layer that backs this one is 3 inches by 3.5 inches. So the tulips is 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. So that would be 2 7/8 by 3 3/8. Getting quite good at doing that in my head. So we've just got that onto its little black piece. Then what we're going to do is put that onto our card like that. Now I'm going to use dimensionals. I'm going to use my edge dimensionals here. I've got some full ones to use, but then I'll use the edges. So I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on the back of that. Sticky fingers already. It's the first card making I've done today. And then I'll use my edges. There we are. So this one's going to pop onto the front. So it's the top right-hand corner almost of the card that this panel goes on. So sort of pick the same sort of distance to the right and to the top. So whatever you sort of like. I think I've probably got, what, about 3/8 of an inch of the colour showing through top and bottom, and sort of just a tiny bit showing at the bottom there. If you can position it like that, that's pretty much perfect. Okay, so we're nearly done this one. It's not much to it from here. We have our sentiment to do. As I said, I've left you just sort of plain squares here, so you can use whatever sentiment it is that you like. I'm going to use the same one as I used on my original card, which is the happy birthday from Special Moments. Now, Special Moments, unfortunately, was a celebration giveaway last celebration, so it's not current anymore, but I'm sure you've got your favourite happy birthday or whatever that you use that will fit this particular little sentiment box. So we'll pop that on there. I'll just give it a bit of a sample stamp so I can know I've got it on straight. So I'm just going to do this one on black because it's got some nice black highlights on the card. The other two cards that we do today, I've actually stamped them in different colours, but as I say, entirely up to you. Just make sure that that's straight. Yep, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to stamp my little white sentiment box with my happy birthday. So just more sort of towards one end so I don't have to bother cutting that down. There we are. And then, I mean, you might be happy just to, trim that down and keep it square. You can banner it. If you're like me, you've got several ways of bannering things. I tend to like to use my soon to be retired, and it's going to miss it terribly, my tailored tag punch. But you can just tag things with a pair of scissors, banner them with a pair of scissors, or the particular banner punch that is also in our catalogue. So, but I'm going to use for the last time, I'm going to use my tailored tag punch just to cut that little banner there. Then what we need to do is pop that onto our black. I'm actually going to glue that on without trimming the black down just yet. And I might actually show you how I do banners with just scissors. It's fairly straightforward. I think most people would work it out pretty logically. And there's, glue's moving a bit today. Must be slightly warm here. Okay, so we've got that on there. So what to banner that with a pair of scissors you would do is cut it to the correct length, straight across, like so. Then put a little nick in the sort of depth of the banner that you want, and then just take it from the corners to the centre, just with your scissors from either end. A little bit fiddlier than using an actual banner punch, but just as effective if you can line that up correctly, which I couldn't do then. There we are. It's still a bit, it's close enough. As I say, if you've got a punch or something that does it, it might be easier. But you can get there. You get a bit lazy, don't you? Sometimes you've got a punch for this and a die for that, and you don't even have to pick up your scissors very often. Okay, so this is going to pop on there, just onto that half on the tulips and half off. So obviously the half that's on the tulips will just need a dab of glue behind, but we're going to have to put a dimensional behind the back of the bit that's sort of suspended in space. So one dimensional on the back there, wee bit of glue on that end, and you can pop that where you like it. Just like that. There we are. Isn't that nice? I love the red and the black and the white. Okay, so it's a lovely card and I love the black. So I've got some, as I said, some of the matte gems, the matte dots, just 3 little black ones. And if I can get them off, they don't seem to want to come off. I'm going to pop those just to correspond with the embossed sort of the look of the dots. I'm going to pop those in a row down the side. So just in a straight line, obviously you can pop them where you like, but I just like this sort of little uniform row of dots, as uniform as I can get it anyway, which isn't very, it's off. Put the two ends first so that I could bring in the middle one and get it lined up, and it wasn't very well lined up at all. Anyway, there you are. Obviously you can do a much better job than me. So there is our first card for today. It's just a nice plain birthday card. Well, not plain, but nothing much, no flowery verses inside, but you could pop them in there if you want. Stamp it with your favourite flower, whatever you like, just to make it yours. But that's card number 1 anyway. Okay, so let's pop that aside. Okay, card number 2. We might do our lovely little triangle easel card now. So this is slightly different. It's actually a bookbind card. If you can see, it's got the binding at the end here. So you guys probably have seen me do these multiple times, but just as a little bit different, the front of it turns into an easel with this cute triangle front facing panel here. So that's just all my favourite cards thrown into one. Just be, again, very careful as you get everything out, because there are at least there's some pearls and some smaller pieces of cardstock in here you might need to be careful of. Now this one was, I ran out of cards, designer series paper towards the end, so you might find you've got slightly different designer series paper than the original card, but it's from the same suite, has the same colours, and I'm sure it will be just as nice. So here you've got an 11 by 4 inch piece of cardstock. It's been scored. If you take it from this end, it's been scored at 2, 4 and 5.5. So the middle is the 5.5. Then what I've done is measure 2 inches along that 4 inch end that was there, marked it at 2 inches, and then cut the triangles out from that 2 inch mark to the first 2 inch score. If I fold that, you'll be able to see it better. So from 2 inch point along that edge to that score, and the same at the top to get the 2 triangles out. And that gives us our little triangle, our little diamond, or half of our little diamond for the front. And then we've got our bookbind part, which is that little part there at the back. Okay, so it's a matter of working out where to start with this one. There's a fair bit happening. So let's just have a look. I might start with the front, the top of the card. So in your pack, you will have some ribbon. So this is the wonderful, gorgeous, great ribbon. And as long as it's not sold out, it's actually on sale at the moment because it is retiring. Then you have some strips of designer series paper. Some of you will have this stripy one, and some of you will have the one with the words on it. I'll just show you that one. So some of you will have this one with the words on it, and some of you will have the ones with the stripe. Okay, so you've got a sort of a thin strip. So it's 3 7/8 long by 1 3/8. And then this is the same length, but it's 1 7/8. So they obviously, if you can see, the skinny one goes on that first, between those score lines there at the edge. So between the centre score and the first score, and then the second one goes here like that. So you've got nothing on your little triangle, of course. So we might pop those on. And that one's there. So this is the part of the card that will eventually form the spine. So that'll be sealed down at some stage. And then this one pops just next to it. Just like that. Okay. Then if you open it up, you should have a matching piece of cardstock. So either of the letters or the stripes, or the words or the stripes, that's 3 7/8 square. And that one is going to pop inside on the hard right-hand side. So we leave this blank on the left-hand side because that's what's going to be sealed down, obviously, when we do our easel. And we just pop this one on the right-hand side. Now, if you've got the stripes, you might want to make sure that your stripes are running the same direction on the outside of the card and the inside of the card, just to keep it a little bit uniform. Okay, so that's that paper in there. So what we might do now to avoid future confusion is seal up our little spine. So you'll need your ribbon, and you'll need some double-sided tape or some snail. It's up to you, or glue. You can use whatever you like. So as I've done many times with my bookbind cards, you pop the adhesive, if it'll behave itself, in that little spine part. Grab enough ribbon that will just go from the inside, just adhere that to the snail that you've just popped down, take it around and then trim it so that it'll just tuck in as well. Okay. So you've got it glued at both ends there, and then seal that little spine down. So you've got that happening there. Okay, so that's the bookbind part. Eventually, with the ribbon you've got left, hopefully I've given you enough, should be 20 centimetres left over, you can tie a little bow, but we'll come back to that shortly. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Okay, so what else have we got in your little bag of tricks? You've got 2 squares, and these are of the Highland Heather cardstock, and they're 2 3/4 square. Then you've got 2 extra pieces of sort of a contrasting designer series paper. And I realise I probably might have made this a little bit confusing because some of you will have that stripe, most of you will have that stripe, and then some of you will have this little hearts. Just depends where I was when I ran out of cardstock. So the little square panels, whatever design you have, go straight over onto those squares, onto those little Highland Heather squares. Here we are, so 1 and 2. Now, the first one, or one of them, doesn't know which is the first one of them is going to go, I'm going to make sure I get it the right way, it's going to go, it'll match up perfectly with the little diamond or triangle that we cut out of our card base there. So one of them will glue perfectly over that triangle. I haven't left any boundary or a border with the card base. It's just going to go straight over it, so you don't see the triangle behind poking out at all. Just pop some glue on there and bring that on and position it exactly over the triangle. And that forms your diamond there for your card front. Just like that. I might just let that that glue cure a wee bit before I start moving it, because it will move around a wee bit. There we are. Okay, so the second one, we'll push that up and out of the way. The second one is going to pop in the center of your sort of the easel base. So it's going to pop just in there, just like that, to form our second diamond. You sit back there, you. Pop some scissors on it. No, not heavy enough. So it's going to sit there, just in that sort of square and diamond inside of a square type setup. So we can pop that in as well. So that's just glued. Okay, just like that. So try and make it as straight as a diamond can be. If you use grid paper, you can line it up with the grid paper so that it is sort of at exactly 90 degrees to the card base, just like that. Okay, so we've got that happening. Okay, so what else have we got in our bag? Okay, so you've got in Fresh Freezer, you've got the beautiful embossed heart. So this is using the hybrid embossing folder, which actually cuts the heart and embosses it with one sweep through the die cutting machine. And again, that hybrid embossing folder is actually continuing in the mini catalogue through to the end of June. You've also got a couple of sentiment boxes. This one's actually from the same hybrid embossing folder set as the heart, the bouquet of love. Got a cute little contoured, what I call it, scallop contoured sentiment box there. Might have to weed that one. And you've got two little hearts. And again, I've cut the hearts using the bouquet of love embossing folder bundle. And you've got three little pearls, good old pearls. They've been with us forever. Okay, and I think they are continuing in the annual catalogue, which is awesome. Okay, so let's get started with some decorating. We're going to first of all pop the embossed heart onto the front-facing part of our what we're calling it, easel, and just off to the left-hand side, sort of central, top and sort of there, slightly overlapping that top edge there, so it just sort of gives it a little bit of a 3D look. And we're just going to glue that straight on. So we'll just pop some glue on the back. Make sure you're not putting glue on the bit that's going to go off the edge, but over towards the left-hand side. And sort of straight, or as straight as the heart can be anyway. So we've got that on there then. Okay, so what we might do now is stamp our sentiments. You may have to weed your scalloped, which I'm not going to bother. I quite like the little dots on there. But it's supposed to have little holes rather than dots, but I'm going to leave my dots in there. Again, I'm going to use some sentiments out of my special moments. I'm going to use I Think You're Wonderful on this smaller, skinnier sentiment box. And then Thanks for Brightening My Day onto the scalloped, contoured scallop. I think you are wonderful. And I'm going to stamp those, not in black this time. I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape, which is a lovely darker shade of purple. I'll just line that up as well I can. Grab my Gorgeous Grape, which I did see here a minute ago. Yep, here we go. Black would be totally fine, whatever sort of colour you like your sentiment in. Just have a test stamp. Yep, pretty good. I think you're wonderful. Here we are. It's turned out pretty well. And the other one, the scalloped contoured scallop contoured thingy, is, now what was it? Thanks for Brightening My Day. Go away. We're not part of this show. Okay, so thanks for brightening my day, brightening up my day, it says. And then I'll pop that in there. There we are. So we've got both our little sentiments there. So the I Think You're Wonderful one, the skinny one, is going to go on dimensionals again, onto the sort of slightly overlap our little heart, or our big heart actually, the big embossed heart. So from there, on the front of the easel, across to the sort of right hand corner of our diamond. Try and make that straight so that when it's flipping up like that, it looks straight. There we are. Then we've got our two little stitched hearts, and we've got the Fresh Freesia one. And I'm going to pop a dimensional on the sort of lower half of that. So just at the lower half. And I'm going to pop that onto sort of, so it slightly overlaps, or overlaps the sentiment, but also sort of just also slightly overlaps the bottom of the diamond as well. Make sure that, see, I've popped my dimensional in the wrong place there. You can see it's sneaking its little, might have been better to use a small one. I might actually see if I can, without ripping anything, get that off, because I don't want that to stick itself to the back of the card. I might swap to a little dimensional if I can find them. Here they are. Just pop again on the lower half of the lower bit of the card, of the heart. And again, we'll pop that on there. Might pop a tiny bit of glue there where it's actually going to rest on the sentiment itself. Since I'm using a smaller dimensional, needs a bit more gluing. There we are. Just like that. And then I've done it better this time. There's no dimensional overlapping where it shouldn't. So there we are. It's got a little bit of a bend in him where I pulled him off. That's okay. Cool. Okay, so that's the front of our easel. With all easels, they need a little foot to stop them from falling over, and that's what the other heart and the sentiment box is for. So again, get your dimensionals out. Going to pop this one. So this is forms most of the foot. So pop some dimensionals on your contoured scalloped box, sentiment box. Work out how high you want your little easel to sit. If you want it to sit really high, like upright like that, then your sentiment box has to go towards the back. If you're happy for it to sort of move, slip forward a bit more, then you can put your sentiment box a little bit further forward. I'm sort of popping it sort of half and half, really. It's sort of at about that stage there. So a little bit of our diamond pokes out, and our little easel sits up quite high. There we are. So that's that one. Then again, we've got our other little heart. So this is a little Highland Heather heart. I'm just going to pop that just off to the edge. Oh, it's actually on this side. Just on the edge of the sentiment like that. So mostly on the card back, but a wee bit onto the sentiment box as well. I'm going to pop a dimensional where it's going to be on the card base. Pop a tiny bit of glue where it's going to be on the sentiment box itself, and then pop that there. There we are. So that when that's closed, it looks like this, and when it's open, it sits up like that. Last thing to do, two things to do. I'm looking at that ribbon. I'm thinking, I don't know that I've given enough ribbon there. So we're going to put our pearls on. So we've got 3 pearls, and you can basically pop them where you like. I'm going to pop one on that little heart there, just on his right lobe, and then another one up here, and then the third one I'm going to pop on the base itself, down below because it sits up quite high anyway, so it doesn't really matter that it doesn't sit flat. I'm going to pop him just in there. There we are. There we are. Isn't that sweet? Even with different paper, I think that's really, really nice. So that's our easel, diamond easel bookbind. It's like all the cards put together. We haven't tied my ribbon yet. So if you'd like to do the ribbon, I don't know that it's overly necessary. And I have cut it off too short from wrapping it around the inside, unfortunately. Tie a little bow or a knot there. Depending on how dexterous you are. Actually, I might tie a bow and then put it there with a glue dot. Would be easier. She says, might be easier. You guys know what I'm like with bows. I should have tied this beforehand. Eek. I haven't got my bow jig there and it would take me too long to work out how to do the bow jig. So I just have to leave that and leave you to your own devices with, because I've got sticky fingers as well, which is not helping. One more go. Otherwise, I will leave you to your own devices with your bow. May not need it really, to be honest. No, my bow's not going to work today. So anyway, pop a little bow there if you like, if you've got enough left over, and it'll look a bit like that. But it's not going to work for me today. Just leave it. Okay, we'll move on. We could be here for the rest of our lives. Anyway, so that's our diamond, double diamond bookbind easel, all done. Really cute. I'll come and do that ribbon later when you're all not watching me. Okay, I've gone a little bit crooked there, apologies. Last but not least by any stretch is this really, really nice, it's called a fold back pop-up card, which is quite a mouthful, but that's what it's, if you Google them or look on Pinterest, that's what you look for, a fold back pop-up. So the fold back is this part here, obviously, which is sort of a fold back. It adds an extra dimension to our panel. And the pop-up is obviously the pop-up part of it there. So there's this one here. The daisies, absolutely love the daisies. This one, the big daisy in the middle is the daisy punch, which is retiring. So if you like that, probably best to check online whether it's still available. Okay, here you have your pack. Again, be careful because there are lots of daisies and lots of sentiments that could drop out all over the place. You do have to do a wee bit of cutting with this one. I haven't cut the paper in half or and I wanted you to be able to do that fold back part yourself. So I've left the squares whole, but we'll go through it together, what's involved. So don't worry at all. Okay, so you've got your normal Z fold card. As I said, it seems like most cards start with Z at some stage in their creation. And you've got a panel of basic white, which is going to go on that back front-facing part. So I might just do that now, as I say, so I don't lose it. So you've got normal sort of 1/8 of an inch border, just like that. Okay. So what you've also got, this is soft succulent, the card base, just in case you were wondering, and the basic white, and the paper is the really cute soft succulent sort of gingham plaid from the Pansy Patch Designer Series paper, which, as I say, it again is going in the current mini catalogue and will go through to the end of June. So if you like it, you've still got time to grab it. So your strip of Designer Series paper, your big long one, is going to go on the strip of basic white. And then together, they will go on the front facing Z part. Yep, everything's moving. It should glue that down. And together, as I say, they're going together on the front of our card. Okay. Then what we need to do is grab our, so I'll show you what you've got. You've got big rectangle, big squares of soft succulent and big squares of basic white. And then you've got small squares of soft succulent and 2 small squares of basic white. So at this stage of events, you can actually pop the basic whites, the small basic white squares, onto the small soft succulent squares. And they are going to sit on the front of your card, facing forwards, on one on top of the other, in a diamond shape. So turn them 45, 50, 90 degrees, is that? Yeah. So turn them to diamonds and pop them on the front. They're going to pop on the front there like that. Okay, so I think we can probably do that now. So grab your diamond, put some glue on the what's going to be the left-hand side, left-hand half, and then position them. So they're going to line up with the edge, with the score. So the points will line up with the score, and you need to position them both sort of so that they're the same distance from the top and from each other. So like that. So there's probably about 1/4 of an inch top and bottom, and the same sort of 1/4 inch between the tips in the middle. But thankfully with our glue, if you're slightly out, you can have a wee bit of a jiggle. There we are. Okay, so that's the front facing part. Okay, so you need to grab your, what we're going to do first. We might grab our, no, we might put our daisies on last. Grab the 2 small squares of designer series paper. So these are the same size as the front, but they're just cut down to squares. What you need to do is grab your trimmer or your guillotine or whatever it is you use to cut your paper, and you need to cut them diagonally in half to form 2 rectangles, 2 triangles, rectangles, 2 triangles, definitely not rectangles, triangles. So diagonally from point to form 2 triangles. And that's exactly what you do with the other one as well. So from point to point with your trimmer to form all up, you've got 4 triangles, right-angled triangles, technically speaking. Okay, and they are going to sit just in the corners of the back of your card. And once you've got them in place, you can see that they form sort of the outline of a diamond, the outline of sort of like a white diamond in the middle there. Okay, so we'll pop those on. Leave a small border of white outside them. So don't take them all hard up onto the white. You need a little bit of white showing around the top and the side, or the bottom and the side. And they won't quite touch in the middle. There we are. And the bottom 2. You can probably see where we're going with this diamond that we're creating in the middle. It's all about the diamonds, this card. Okay. You can see when you've closed it, the angle of that diamond pretty much matches the angle of your top and of your front sort of little diamonds. As I say, it's all about the diamonds. So you need to grab one of your large soft succulent squares and pop the white one on that. Don't do the other one at this stage. Very important. This is just one of them because we need to do something to the other one before we add it to the card. So this is just the one soft succulent square with the white, and that's the one that's going to sit, hopefully if I've done my job properly, perfectly in the middle of that little diamond that we've created with our designer series paper. So let's pop that in. I shouldn't say if I've done my job properly, because then somebody will come back and say, mine doesn't fit, you didn't give me my embellishments, or I haven't got enough diamonds, daisies. Which, if that's the case, I apologise. Please let me know and I will fix it. Okay, so there's our little diamond in the middle there. So what's going to pop in this diamond is the large daisy. So you've got lots of, I've been ignoring them up till now, but you've got designer series paper cut with the daisy punch. There's two large ones and 4 small ones is what you should have. You see the other side, it's actually the tulip, the flowering tulip paper that I've cut them from. So this side here. So you've got those, you've got 2 large ones. We're going to pop those together so just to form the one daisy. And what I do with the daisy punch, and you've got to be really delicate because we are using designer series paper and not cardstock, grab my bone folder and just give them the gentlest of curls. Now don't go too mad because, as I say, it's designer series paper and not cardstock. And if you go a bit enthusiastic, you might rip off a petal, and that would be bad. So just give them the slightest curl. I mean, obviously, pop them in the envelope, the curl's going to reduce, but there will be some there. So you've got 2 little sort of, they look like sort of spiders, little daisy spiders sort of sitting up on their feet. So just choose which one you want at the back. If you've got one that's a little bit more green than blue, probably put that one at the back just to blend in the green a bit. The paper does have shades of both. So there, we've just made ourselves a little 16 petal daisy spider. There we go. Because he's got quite a little bit of, he's got a little bend to him. Now he's going to sit just in the middle. Isn't that so nice? Just in the middle of the diamond that we created at the back. Now you can choose whether you pop a sentiment on in the inside as well. I had a little thanks there from the stamp set that my special moment stamp set. So I popped that on there. I'm not overly fond of it, so I'm not going to pop it on this one. I'm just going to leave it blank and just pop the daisy in the centre. It's one of those things that I thought I should do, and when I did it, I regretted it straight away. So I'm just going to leave the inside blank now. But I think that's just so lovely with the soft succulent and the white contrasting it. It's really nice. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll do the fold back part of the card. So you've got your extra square of basic white and your extra square of soft succulent. So what you need to do is bring in your trimmer or your scoring blade or whatever it is that you use to score. I'm going to use my trimmer this time. And you need your soft succulent one first. So grab your trimmer and you need your scoring blade to start with. Line up tip to tip like we have with all our other things today. Tip to tip, using your scoring blade, not your cutting blade, your scoring blade, score it in the centre, along the centre. So you get a triangle. It's scored into 2 triangles, two attached triangles. Then what you need to do is line the scoring mark up with the 1 inch part of your, line the score up with the 1 inch mark So that's 1 inches. So score is there. And you're actually using your cutting blade, cut off the excess. So you're getting rid of a little triangle off the edge there. So what you've got now is a score within a triangle on one side and sort of like a flattened triangle on the other side, and that's where the glue is going to go. Okay, so that's the fold back part. Okay, to do that, you grab your put your sentiment on that front facing part. You grab your white square, and this time we are going to line it up with the, again, tip to tip. We're using our cutting edge, and we're going to cut this one into a triangle. So that's actually cut into a triangle. You only need one of them, so the other one you can use for another card, and that triangle is going to sit on the front of our fold back part, so on the complete triangle part of our fold back. So you might want to stamp the sentiment first before you glue it down. I'm going to use, which fits lovely. You do have to sort of try and find one that's got funny angles. Well, not funny angles, it's sort of more sort of roundish in its shape. What would I do? What would I be without a friend like you? And this time I'm going to use my soft succulent stamp ink. What would I be without friends like you? All of you who buy my classes. I'd still be, what would I be? Still be working in a job I don't really like very much. Okay, where would I be without a friend like you? There we are. Pop that away. So that's going to be glued onto our little fold back part that we've created. Now be careful when you're gluing triangles. Oh, she says she's just made a boo-boo. Make sure you get the glue up into the corners, but not too much. So you just need a touch of glue in the corners. So this one I've basically shown you the wrong thing to do because I've got a huge amount of glue in the corner, which is going to squirt out as soon as I force it down. But yeah, so you want your corners to glue down so they don't stick up in the air. But because there's not a lot of cardstock there, you don't need a lot of glue, you just need some. Okay, so there we are. So that's our little fold back part. So bring our card back in. So what's going to happen is that inch, that straight edge of the bit that we cut the triangle off, will actually line up exactly with the score line. So what you can see is when I glue that down, I'm going to make sure that all the angles match up, all the lines are parallel. So that line is parallel to that line, which is parallel to that line. That line is parallel to that line, which is parallel to that line. The gaps are all the same. So once I'm happy that that is uniform, I'm just going to add my glue to my little cut-off piece and then fold the card closed. And that glue will stick to where it needs to be, just like that. Open the card down, give it a little bit of set. So you can see that, if you can see it, I'll bring it closer. That edge that we cut square is hard up with the score line, and everything is even and matched up. And that's the little fold back part. I have seen people with their fold back parts pop little squares of cardstock in there, little structural squares, so that it sits at an exact right angle, and that works really well. But I thought it might be a tad complicated to explain to you over a video, so might have to find other demonstrators that are a little bit more what's the word, ambitious than me. I didn't want to sort of take this into Constructionville. Okay, so we just need to now pop our little daisies on the front. You should have 4 little daisies, and I'm pleased to say that the smaller daisy punch is actually continuing in the catalogue, so daisies will continue. As I say, you might have some that have got a slight green tinge to them, or a little bit more of a green tinge, so I'm going to pop those behind So I might pop this one behind and then that one behind. Oh, again, grab your bone folder or just use your thumb. Give them a very gentle fold. Again, be gentle because it is cardstock. It is designer series paper, not cardstock. And these little ones are going to sit on those two little diamonds that you've created facing forwards. There's one. And we've got some gems. You've got some in-colour gems, which are the cutest things. They are actually retiring, so if you love the gems, pop on the website and buy them before 4th of May. I think everything goes, or it's while stocks last, so it may well be beforehand. Just grab some glue. Everything's sticking to my fingers, so I might as well take advantage and use it as a bit of a lever. Just line them up so that you can see all 16 petals, assuming it's 16. I haven't counted them, so that's our other one. Pop him in the middle there. We'll add our dimensionals, and then this one is done as well. That's the end. Oh, nearly an hour. Yeah, the cards were a wee bit more complicated than usual this time, so hopefully you've managed to keep up okay. Watch the video a couple of times before you head off into the adventure if you would like to. So as I say, in colour gems. I'm going to pop one over here, and then the other two on our daisies over here. There we are. Okay, so there is card number 3. That's our pop-up fold-back card. Really, really nice. I made one of these for my mum for Mother's Day. Slightly different paper, but the same design. So we're hoping she likes that as well. So as far as you would write your personal message, you might have to pop a white panel on the back, because I can't really see where else, unless you can put lovely little writing here on the inside. Yeah, I can't see it. Maybe you need to pop a box on the back, or maybe in the fold there, you could pop one as well. So it would be seen from that angle. Okay, so that's our cards for today. So there's our 2 pop-up foldbacks, and we've had our beautiful daisies and our wonderful, currently bowless, bookbind, what do we call it? Bookbind diamond easel. So that's our class for this month. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. If you didn't buy the class and you're actually watching these on YouTube after the event and you would like to, please reach out. I've got an email address on my YouTube channel, so you can reach out there. Fortunately, I can only sell kits to Australian customers, so that's sort of where my boundary ends, but very, very happy to answer any questions you have about the products you see here today. So thanks again. Have a great day. I hope these go really well for you. Reach out if they don't, please, and let me know. Always willing to take constructive criticism and improve my kits and my videos and things. So please do so. Anyway, thanks again, and I will chat to you all later.